Good morning and welcome to 5 Minutes More with Pastor. It is Monday, September 21st, the last day of summer. Tomorrow is the first day of spring. Today, the last of summer. And it is overcast outside. I think the sun will probably break through at some point later today. And looking forward to that. Fall is probably my favorite season. And so I'm looking forward to the cooler weather. The leaves on the trees in our neighborhood have already begun to change. And I just love this time of year. It's personally my favorite. I know some people don't care for it, but because the rain starts to come in, but I love it. Um, so those of you that noticed, I was drinking out of my Pioneer Wilsonville or Pioneer Baptist Church coffee mug. So why haven't you drank out of that one before? Well, because we had two in our house, and they both got used so much that they broke. And when Ellen found out about that, she gifted me one of her Pioneer mugs, and so I have one now back in the house, and I'll use it on my Sunday morning. So thank you to Ellen if you watch this for that. And she wanted me to diversify the use of my mugs on my 5 minutes or more on in the mornings, and so that's what I'm going to do. So here we go. This is the one for today. I hope you're having a good day today. Psalm 122 is where we are this morning, and I had a devotional planned for this morning, and I'll get to it. But I do want to. It may surprise you that it wasn't focused on verse 1. Verse 1 of Psalm 122 and verse 1 says, "I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord." Um, it's a verse I use often on Sundays and in the days leading up to Sunday because I enjoy Sundays worshiping the Lord together with his church family. And I did yesterday. If you're not part of Pioneer, even if you were, yesterday was the first time we've met indoors together in 7 months. Last time we met indoors together was on, I think, March 15th of this year. And ever since then, we've either been online or we've been under a tent outdoors. So yesterday was the first time we were able to come together indoors to worship the Lord. And that was a great time. We had a Sunday morning service, we had a Sunday evening service where we took the Lord's Supper and we spent a little bit of time in prayer. And it was just great to really have a Lord's Day and spend the day with God's people worshiping Him. And excited about what God may have planned for us for this season. I know my kids enjoyed the setting. It's actually a camp setting, so my kids enjoyed that and being out there and just being able to play and explore and see all of that. And we have an anniversary service coming up, um, and and so we have an anniversary service coming up, and excitement about possibly using the facilities for that. And so yesterday we really enjoyed that. It's going to be funny because for me and the way we structure and plan our services, this is the first time I've had to do it indoor during this COVID season and trying to figure out how to navigate those things and just our whole service and weekly service plan. And so just pray for that. But I did not want to skip that and say I want to be known. I was glad when they said unto me, "Let us go into the house of the Lord," and I was really thankful for that this week, and I'm sure I will be, and we will be for the weeks to come. But I want to read verses 6 and 7 that are familiar verses in 120 and Psalm 122 as well. The Bible says in verse 6, "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem; they shall prosper that love thee. Peace be within thy walls and prosperity within thy palaces." If you've even watched the news slightly, little bit, the past couple weeks, you've heard that there have been some peace brokers between Israel and some Middle Eastern countries that President Trump has been able to help navigate through, and it's been a really neat thing to kind of see come to fruition. But a prayer for peace is certainly an appropriate prayer for a city whose name actually means peace. The Hebrew word that we know, shalom, means more than just our English word peace that more than our English word peace encompasses. Shalom includes a fullness of life, um, balance, health, and even God's active presence in somebody's life. And it has the idea of walking daily with God. It has the idea of a restoration back to God's original creation, that perfect peace at that time. It includes blessings upon a person that is the result of having a right relationship with the God of peace. So no, it's no wonder that it's a word that's still used as a greeting in the streets of Jerusalem even today, and has for centuries. And the reality is, one day God is going to send, or He's going to come back to us again and use Jerusalem as a place of residency of God's peace. And as we kind of watch the world events, um, it's interesting to see some of these pieces be put in place. Um, but it's also important for us that are living today to understand that the peace that God gives is not the absolute absence of trouble, uh, but rather the peace that God gives is the confidence. Our peace comes not from the absence of trouble. Our peace comes from the confidence that our God is there in the midst of all of those troubles. There's a Native American Indian rite of passage that is apparently given to young boys when they turn 13 and they've learned all their skills of hunting and scouting and fishing and all of those kinds of things. They have one last test where they're blindfolded and they're taken deep into the forest and they're left there overnight by themselves to defend themselves, to care for themselves, to do all of those things. And so they're taken there, they're blindfolded, and then the blindfold's taken off and nobody is around. They're all by themselves in the dark. And at that point, as young 13-year-old boys, every crack of a tree limb, they think some animal's getting ready to jump out of the trees and kill them. And they spend their whole night to some extent in fear, wondering what's going to happen, how are they going to be able to take care of themselves. And then after what seems like an eternity, and dawn finally breaks and the first rays of sunlight enter into the interior of that forest, every time, to the utter astonishment of the boy who's been there all along, he begins to see a shadowy figure that was standing just a few feet away and with a bow and arrow in their hand. And he realizes that while he thought he was there alone that entire night, that young boy's father had been there all night long as well, watching over him. And that is the reality. Sometimes our world feels like a dark forest where we don't know where to turn, and we're wondering, is that next thing gonna, is that what's gonna be that takes us out? What's gonna happen next? How are things gonna go? It's a reminder, the peace that we have from God is not an absence of all of those things. The peace we have from God is a confidence that He is there in the midst of it with us. Can I tell you, I don't know what your week holds this week, but I want to let you know this. God tells us He gives us a peace that passes all understanding. Doesn't make sense to people. But can I tell you something? In the midst of all of those things this week, God will be there with you. And I hope that encourages you. And I hope you have a good day and a good week. And we'll talk to you later. You chose the second. No, I did not. Yeah, that's right. The kid knows when you start to pick something out, what happens?